The April 11th Plan Commission meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. First, we will have some information from our technical facilitator.
All right, well, welcome to our virtual Plan Commission meeting. We're going to cover a few basic items before beginning. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. To members and city staff, members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, Staff, click raise hand when you are asked a question. The chair will do their best to call on committee members in the order in which their hands are raised. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the commission, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The first item of business is public comment. Heather, do we have anyone signed up for public comments?
We don't.
Okay, thank you. The next item is communications, disclosures, and recusals. Do any members of the Plan Commission have any of these? Raise your hand if so. Seeing none. The next item is the minutes of the March 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, do we have a motion of approval? Motion by Commissioner Sondheim. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Fernandez. I'll assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand. The motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the next item is schedule of meetings. Our regular meetings, our next regular meeting is April 25th. And then we have two meetings in May 9th and May 23rd. The next item is the routine business and the consent agenda. It's the custom of the Plan Commission to remove items from the agenda which staff believes the application has been sufficiently reviewed and warrants approval with all the city departments, that the applicant accepts those conditions and there are no individuals who have registered to speak in opposition. We have several items on the consent agenda this evening, and I'll read those. We have item number 3, 4, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Do any of the commissioners wish any of those items to be removed from a consent? See, Commissioner Fernandez.
Just a question, Commissioner Cantrell. I had consent agenda 7, 8, and 9. Maybe I'm not up to date on the agenda. We're consented.
7, 8, and 9 are not on the consent agenda.
Sorry, we do have a registrant wishing to speak in opposition on those items, and so those will come together.
Oh, I'm sorry. But I have 10, 11, and 12. Is that how you read it off? Okay.
Yes, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
And 13. Okay, thank you. I did miss one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will now read the consent items. And the first one is item number Legistar 70310, authorizing the city's acceptance of ownership of the Newberry Heights Neighborhood Association of a Little Free Library located in Newberry Park at 7834 Lois Laurie Lane. The next item is item number 4, Legistar 7031, vacated, located in part of Block 55 of the original plat of Madison, located in the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 23, Town 7 North, Range 9 East in the city of Madison, Dane County, Wisconsin. Item number 6 is Legistar 69518, amending the city of Madison map to establish mapped reservations for future streets and highways in the city of Madison to connect Shopko Drive and Pancratz Street, consistent with the recommendations in the adopted Oscar Mayer Special Area Plan. The next consent item is item number 10, Legistar 69795, 224 Ohio Avenue, 15th Alder District, consideration of a conditional use in the traditional shopping street district for a restaurant nightclub. Item number 11, Legistar 69794, 734 East Washington Avenue, the 2nd Alder District, consideration of a demolition permit to allow the demolition of a 2-story. Item number Legislar 70345, 13 Fish Hatchery Road, 13 Alder District, consideration of a demolition permit to allow the demolition of a former health clinic. And lastly, on the consent agenda is item number 13, Legistar 70347, 3779 Gateway of Cottage Grove, consideration of a certified survey map within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction to reconfigure lots. I'll open the public hearing. There is no one wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion. Do we have a motion of approval? Looking for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Sondheim and second by Commissioner Shepard. All those in favor? I'll assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand in opposition. Seeing no raised hands, the consent agenda is approved. Now I'll be moving on to the other items on the agenda. Number 2, Legislar 70109, authorizing the execution of a lease with Cellco Partnerships, DBA Verizon Wireless, for premises at McPike Park located at 1130 East Wilson Street. And do we have a presentation on this item?
No presentation, but Park Superintendent Eric Neff is here if any questions arise.
Okay. Do the commission members have any questions for the director? Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that this lease would be for 10 years and that the city could vacate it after that time with no penalty as long as we provide the 180-day notice. Is that correct?
Yes. Pardon me. Yes, the agreement and the titling extends it further, as that was the counterparty's desire. But we have the absolute. There's a 10-year initial term with the city has the option with no penalty to remove at that point. And certainly for the commission, and I know it came up last time, the Parks Division has no interest in maintaining a cell tower there in perpetuity. I'm hopeful that the memo outlined a little bit of why this seemed to make sense at this juncture specifically.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Sondheim. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Shepard. I'll assume.
Should I make the motion first?
Yes, sure. Go ahead. Please do.
Let's see. I will move approval and recommend execution of the lease with Selco Partnership for premises at McPike Park, located at 1130 East Wilson Street.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Shepard is seconding the motion, I'm assuming? Yes, okay. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of I'll assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand. Seeing no raised hands, the motion is approved. Thank you, Commissioner Sondheim. Moving on to the next item. Item number 5, Legistar 70631, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Cottage Grove. Presentation by Jeff Greger.
Yes, thank you. So the City of Madison has been in discussions with the town of Cottage Grove regarding an intergovernmental agreement for some time now. Town officials have discussed the proposal and obtained public feedback at several town board meetings, as well as a public hearing last October 6th. The city and the town share nearly a 5.5-mile border, and the overall goal of this IGA is to provide more certainty for the city, the town, property owners, residents, and other stakeholders, and encourage sensible growth. An important note that this proposed IGA does not automatically transfer land from one municipality to another, like the 4 cooperative plans the City of Madison is part of in other areas of the city. Annexation is driven by the property owners petitioning the city to have their property annexed. I'll spend a little bit of time going over what's in the agreement. Hopefully everyone's seeing a map of the proposed intergovernmental agreement area. So we have Area A in blue. In that area, or actually outside of that area, Madison will not consider property owner petitions to annex their property east of Area A, except land owned by Madison that would be necessary to serve Area A with sewer and water. As the proposed IGA has been discussed, the primary feedback that we got from town property owners was a concern over annexation methods in state law, where property can be annexed to a city or a village against the wishes of a property owner. So based on that feedback, the proposed IGA only allows property in the potential Madison expansion area A, to be annexed to Madison as a result of all property owners petitioning for annexation being unanimous, and then thereby Madison approving the petition. This limitation is essentially consistent with existing city practices, as the city does not annex land involuntarily. The city or town of Cottage Grove will agree to not oppose unanimous annexation to Madison within this Area A. And the town will not approve development within Area A. And development refers to the division of land, a condominium, construction of more than one principal structure on a parcel, or rezoning a parcel from residential or agricultural classification to a non-residential classification. If property owners in Area A want to develop their property, they shall annex it to that property to the city of Madison and conform with Madison development requirements. In the agreement or the proposed agreement within Area A, the division of 5 acres or larger parcel of land that exists as of the date of the agreement, they can divide that into only 2 parcels for residential purposes. Not considered and it won't be considered development under this agreement. And then finally for Area A, Madison waives the ETJ Extraterritorial Jurisdiction Review Authority for the entire town of Cottage Grove except for in Area A. The Area B in purple will be kept in the comprehensive plan's long-term growth area. Both parties will facilitate implementation of the planned County Highway AB 12 and 18 interchange. Both parties will facilitate implementation of the planned 12 and 18 freeway conversion between the existing County Highway AB interchange and County Highway N interchange by not seeking or approving new driveway access along that segment of 12 and 18. There's a road reimbursement schedule in the proposed agreement. If a property west of the blue boundary line annexes to Madison under the agreement, Madison will reimburse the town for road construction expenses that the town has previously incurred for the abutting portion of the property frontage to the center line of the road based on a schedule that's found under 3I of the agreement. And this provision applies to Vilas Road, Vilas Hope Road, and Femrite Drive. Both municipalities will collaborate on the preservation of open space corridors, including collaboration with the Village of Cottage Grove and Dane County to identify and also preserve those corridors of regional significance. City of Madison and the town of Cottage Grove will update their respective comprehensive plans and related plans to reflect the provisions of the agreement within 5 years. The term of the agreement is 40 years. After the initial 40-year term, the agreement renews for an additional 10 years unless notice is provided by either party 1 year in advance of the expiration of the 40 years. And then finally, modification of the agreement. The agreement may be modified if approved by both parties. So that's the short list of what's in the agreement. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do the commission members have any questions for Jeff? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Yes, Commissioner Sondheim.
I move approval and recommend moving forward with authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Cottage Grove.
Thank you. Do we have a second to the motion? Commissioner Fernandez, do you second? Yes, okay. Would you like to speak to your motion, Commissioner Sondheim? No. I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand. I see no raised hand, so the motion is approved. Moving on to public hearings. We have 7, 8, and 9 are related, and they're the last items on our agenda and are only items for public hearing with individuals who want to speak. Item number 7 is Legistar 70480, creating section 28.022 to 00559 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 1705 to 1713 South High Point Road in the 20th Aldermanic District from temporary agriculture to suburban residential varied 2 district. Related item number 8 is Legistar 69793, 1705 to 1713 South High Point Road, consideration of a conditional use in the proposed suburban residential varied 2 district for a school, public or private, consideration of a conditional use in the zoning district for a building or structure exceeding 10,000 square feet in floor area, and consideration of a conditional use pursuant to section 28.141(6) of the zoning code to allow automobile parking exceeding the maximum allowed for a proposed use, all to allow construction of a 50,000 square foot private school. And lastly, the related item 9 is Legistar 69801, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Wilmer A. and Sandra Dahl, located at 1705 to 1713 South High Point Road. I will ask staff to give a short presentation on this item. Mr. Parks, are you going to present here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, members of the Planning Commission, Tim Parks with planning staff. Items 7, 8, and 9 involve a request to construct a 2-story, approximately 50,000 square foot school for up to 275 students in grades K through 8, with parking for 43 automobiles, a student drop-off area, and bike parking for 56 bikes on the property. The building will include a 1-story accessory building that exists along the northern property line, which will remain as part of the proposed school development. The project, as the chair noted, requires rezoning of the property, which was attached to the City of Madison in April 2021 to a permanent zoning district, in this case SRV2, as well as the conditional uses related to the proposed use of a school, the size of the building exceeding 10,000 square feet, and the number of automobile parking spaces proposed. Also, the one lot CSM to combine the 2 parcels into one for the purposes of the building being built across the current property line, or lot lines, I should say. The subject site is located within the boundaries of the High Point Raymond Neighborhood Development Plan, which was amended in 2017 and provides land use, transportation, and development phasing recommendations for the area of the city, bounded generally on the north by Valley View Road, on the east by Elver and Prairie Ridge Parks, by McKee Road, Highway PD on the south, and by Pleasant View Road, Highway M on the west. The neighborhood plan recommends that the subject parcels be developed in the residential housing mix 2 category, which generally recommends the development of single-family residences on small lots, other housing types compatible with single-family housing, including duplexes, 4-unit buildings, townhouses, and small-scale apartment buildings with an average density of 12 units an acre and a maximum density of 20 units an acre. The proposed use is an institutional use, and in this case, the High Point Raymond Neighborhood Development Plan does not actually have any parcels that are recommended for civic or institutional uses. Typically, public school sites that are known at the time that a plan is developed would be shown on a neighborhood development plan, but smaller private privately owned and operated schools like the one proposed tonight would not be. In this case, staff felt that the proposed SRV2 zoning reflected the intensity and character of development recommended by the High Point Raymond Neighborhood Development Plan, if indeed the proposed use itself was not envisioned when the HM2 category was recommended for the site. Staff believes that the rezoning is appropriate and also believes that the Plan Commission can find that the conditional use standards and the various supplemental regulations for the proposed school are met. However, staff will note that the Traffic Engineering Division is recommending conditions of approval for the conditional use requests that are designed to limit the impacts on the transportation network resulting from the establishment of the school on this property. Traffic Engineering in particular is recommending that a one-way circulation pattern be established on the site to reduce potential conflicts both on site and along South High Point Road. There are also a few other conditions of approval from the traffic engineer that are recommended that are intended to make sure that the project works well on the site along High Point Road in particular, which is recommended as a minor arterial by the Neighborhood Development Plan. Under the one-way scenario envisioned by traffic engineering and planning, traffic would enter at the southern driveway, circulate through the site, both the parking and the student drop-off area, and exit through the northern driveway. As noted on the agenda, the proposed school also requires a conditional use to exceed the maximum parking allowed by the zoning code. In this case, 43 stalls are proposed, only 18 are required. Staff, however, believes that the Plan Commission can grant the conditional use request required. In particular, staff believes that a greater number of students enrolled in the school will arrive by private automobile than would perhaps be the case at a neighborhood-based public school, which might have a smaller enrollment or attendance area and probably a greater potential for students to be able to walk or bike to school. In conclusion, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning of the site to SRV2, the various conditional uses, and the one-lot certified survey map, subject to the comments and conditions in the Plan Commission materials. And I'd be happy to answer questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I will open the public hearing, and our first speaker is Jennifer Gaworski. Jennifer, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Jennifer Gaworski, and I live in the Province Hill Apartments, which would be directly behind this school if it were built. And from what I can see from the very limited information that we have received so far, the school will be incredibly close to the apartment buildings. With the increased traffic, the increased presence in the neighborhood, I am seeing tennis courts and soccer fields on their proposal picture on the Hickory Hills website. I believe that this development would very much affect our quality of life here in the apartment complex. And I'm wondering what steps, if any, the school is going to take to, decrease the ramifications of being so close to the apartments. How far away will the school be from the apartments? What kind of landscaping will there be in between the apartments and the school? How often will the school be used? Is it open year round? Will there be sporting stuff going on the weekends or after hours? So those are my objections to the proposed use of that property.
Thank you, Jennifer. I know that the applicant has registered to answer questions, but I'm sure that they'll want to testify and answer your questions here. Thank you for your testimony. The next speaker is Elizabeth Tonkin at Midtown Road in Madison. in support and wish with units.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Tonkin. I also live at the Province Hill Apartments adjacent to the proposed school. I do not have any major concerns with the construction of the school on the property. However, I did have a concern with the school being adjacent to the intersection of Midtown Road and High Point Road, which I've noticed can be a very dangerous intersection, especially in the winter. And I was wondering if there were going to be any changes to how the intersection is structured with the new school to make sure children are safe when crossing the street and to make sure they don't get squished by cars, basically. That's what I'm worried about.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We also have Matt Dahl on South High Point Road in support, available to answer questions. He's the representing Hickory Hills Academy as the owner. And Jeremy Frommelt at Deming Way, Suite 102, Madison, I believe is the applicant and is the architect. And he's available to answer questions. And lastly, Ronald Kloss at Westward Way, Madison, in support, available to answer questions, also representing Hickory Hill Academy. Mr. Dahl, are you available to answer some of the questions that the adjoining neighbors had?
Yeah, absolutely. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for the time and thank you for the comments, Jennifer and Elizabeth. Jeremy and Ron can speak to the details of the landscaping and the building and all the efforts we've put in with Tim in the city to ensure that our neighbors on all sides of the properties, that we're being respectful and understanding to ensuring that our school will continue to respect everybody's privacy, everybody's well-being and livelihood, as we know that we've had neighbors at this area for years, and we'll continue to respect that. So I'm anxious for Jeremy to share more about that. As for further tennis courts and events and things of that nature, the tennis court is likely something you've seen that's already on our existing property to the north. But what we are doing is an expansion of what has already been there and what you've seen. So we'll be very mindful in ensuring we're not doing anything above and beyond what we're already doing now at our preschool and our existing elementary school at that area. And Elizabeth, for the traffic I've lived at that property since 1986 and know exactly what you're talking about. So we'll definitely work with the city to ensure that that's a safe area for all the vehicles. I'll turn it over to Jeremy and Ron to discuss what we've done for the sightline and landscaping, all we can do to preserve as many trees and border as we have right now.
Thanks, Matt. Everyone can hear me?
Yes, Jeremy, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, we hear your concerns, Jennifer, and it was ours as well, the proximity next to those apartments and making sure we create a buffer between those two. The school also, wants a buffer between those areas. We're going to go in and try to mark trees, save as many as we can. And then what we can't, we want to recreate a buffer along that property line between the school and the apartments. So we've got a landscape plan right now with, some limestone retaining walls due to the grade change, and also a tree line along there. And then we were focusing most of our stormwater retainage to the south. So keeping that corner of Midtown and South High Point as more of a nature area, we felt was very important. So it is was a concern. We feel like we've come up with a good plan. It's a narrow site. So we wanted to push the building as close to South High Point as we could so we can create that buffer. And that's what we will continue to do.
Jeremy, could you present your site plan? I think that would be helpful for not only the commission members, but from the individuals that have spoke at the public hearing here. Thank you. And you could talk about the landscape being in the parking arrangement and access points and potential crossing of High Point Road in your presentation. I think that would be helpful. I forgot to tell you that you have 3 minutes, but I'll give you a little additional time since I think we would like to.
Tim, could you go to, if you're running that, could you go to 6? I think that shows the landscape plan. Right there. Yep. So as you can see, the parking to the north, so that south drive that Tim described, that's the existing drive right now. That's to the existing maintenance building. It'll be on our accessory building. So we're really keeping that in that location, and then parking the site it'd be to the south portion. So that'd be the majority of parking. So that will kind of help our safety at that intersection. We don't have an ingress and egress that is closer to that intersection than we already currently have, although we will have more traffic. But we agree with the one way that the city engineering has recommended. So going one way in and then the one way out to the exit. And then here you can start to see, we've got setbacks, building setbacks, and easements and whatnot along South High Point. So we're trying to get that building as close as possible. And there you can start to see on the property line that's shared with adjacent apartments, you can see that tree line that's in there. And then we're scattering some trees along with our retaining areas to the south of the site. Again, we're going to go in and look at all trees along that property line, make sure trees that are on the actual apartment property, make sure those are protected, drip lines are protected, so we're not, our goal is to not damage any of the neighbors' trees as well. So we really want to keep that buffer.
Do any of the commission members have any questions for the speaker? Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
Yeah, thank you. I think for the landscape architect, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'm not really seeing the like an outdoor playground area, so you could comment on that, where that's actually happening, if there's outdoor play structures. The other question has to do with fencing. Are kids going to have access to the outdoors, and if so, is there would they be able to wander off the site? And finally, I have a question regarding the drop-off site. Is there any possibility that people would be dropping kids off on the opposite side or driving on the opposite side of High Point Road? And I ask this question because we've had quite a difficulty with regard to a school on the west side where the drop-off, the school's on one side of the street, but people coming in the other direction want to drop their kids off on the opposite side of the street, and there are no sidewalks on that opposite side of the street and difficult terrain. And as a result, we've got people crossing the street in a disorganized, non-crosswalk way because they really have no choice. So my question here really is do you have a way of preventing people from dropping their kids off on the opposite side? Or if they can do that, is there a sidewalk, and I could have done this research myself perhaps, is there a sidewalk that will allow them to get to a crosswalk so they're not trying to cross the street? So, yeah, those are my questions. Thanks.
Good questions.
Yeah, thank you. So for the outdoor play on this site, there aren't any outdoor play areas on this site. So the students will go from this building onto the existing Hickory Hill site, which is really still in the town of Middleton, and that's where the play structures are. So we've got, next to the accessory building, we've got our bike racks and stuff, and there's a couple basketball hoops right in that area. And that's kind of leading to what is the existing Hickory Hill facility. So really no playgrounds on our existing site. So with that, we don't have any fencing around the existing property for any playgrounds there. And I don't believe Matt has any existing fencing on their site as it is now. And then for drop off, I think this will be handled, with the parents. There is a sidewalk on there is a sidewalk on what would be the west side of South High Point now. So there is one that runs full and down to, I believe it's full length, both north and south. And then we will be putting a sidewalk in around our complete property. So they will have access to proper crosswalks. But I think it really will, we've got ample queuing. And I think this will be something that will be managed with the school. The parents, I think that's a dangerous situation. I totally agree with you. To have anyone stop and drop off on High Point, they'll be strongly encouraged to use our queuing that we have on site.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. The next commission member is Commission Member Spencer. Do you have a question?
Thanks. Yeah. I had a question for, I guess, either Jeremy or Matt. I drove out to the site the other day, and I think going south down High Point, there's, a little bit of a hill right next to the site. And I was kind of wondering about visibility for people pulling out of the driveway. And I couldn't exactly tell from the site plan kind of where the exit driveway or the exit is in relation to that hill. Could you tell me, does it clear? Will they have full visibility? I'm just wondering about people going, I think, north on High Point, coming up, and then people coming out of the driveway and not seeing them. And that's my question.
Thank you. Yes, we have been looking at that with the existing, because it does, the hill kind of crests right at the property line, kind of right where the existing maintenance building is at. So where that entrance is now, we feel we have really good visibility, and we are looking at now that exit point. I think that was a staff comment as well, making sure we've got the proper view angles and kind of height reference as you kind of come over the crest of that hill. So it is something we are looking at.
Thank you. No further questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Shepard.
Hi. Yeah. Quick question about to the applicant about in the staff report. You mentioned the question was brought up earlier about, again, parents dropping off their students and how would they make their way across the street. And you mentioned that that's something that you would work out with the parents. But just to point out, in the staff report, page 11, under once again, traffic engineering division, and also as staff pointed out in the report, that you need to have a put together what's referenced there, a student drop off and pickup plan. And that needs to be reviewed by traffic. It sounds like before, again, anything moves forward. So I just want to make sure that, one, that you're aware that and I think, again, staff did a fantastic job of highlighting this within the report and then making sure that's in as a condition. I just want to make sure that you're aware of this, and also that this is something that needs to be done, prior to actually, opening operations, that this is not something, as I read it, that should be left up to work out between yourself and parents sort of on the fly. So comments, please.
Yeah, thank you. We did see that comment in there, and no, it'll be a part of the overall. We'll need to do that before we get final approval to proceed with the building. My comment was just that, we will have a plan in place with the parents, and we will be working with Hickory Hill to establish that, not only with drop off, times, amount of traffic, what we're expecting, and all that stuff.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any other individual wishing to speak on this? Ronald Kloss, are you wanting to speak on this issue, or have anything else to say regarding location?
Ronald is no longer in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Heather, are there any other speakers on this item?
No other registrants.
It appears that maybe
questions for staff.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. We missed just a little bit of that. No other registrants, and were you asking questions for staff?
Yes, questions for staff. Sorry. Seeing no raised hands. Do we have a motion then? Do we have a motion? Yes, Commissioner Soltheim.
I'll move that the Plan Commission forward zoning map amendment, rezoning 1705 to 13 South High Point Road from temporary ag to SRV2, as well as the CSM, and move to the Common Council with a recommendation of approval, finding that the standards for the conditional uses have been met, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Yes. Let me get a second, and then we'll have Alder Burris wants to speak. Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Commissioner Shepard. Yes, Alder Burris, would you like to speak to this item?
I was just seconding the motion, actually, but I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm in full support of this motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Soltheim, would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, thank you, Tim, for the review of this. It's a couple tricky things in terms of the town and the city and the breakup of the lot, but I think that the site plan is well designed, and it's really an expansion of an existing use and really complements the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Alder Burris, would you like to comment on this project?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just encourage my colleagues to support this. This is currently a provider that provides high quality care within our community with a very strong understanding of social emotional wellness for kiddos, and sort of offering age appropriate development and play. And so this is just an expansion of their operations to now expand to obviously a much broader audience of kiddos that they'd be taking and instructing. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. I think there's some good leadership there and a good vision. I think it's a well sought out project, and I'm definitely in support of it. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for indulging me on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. We have a motion to approve and a second. I'll assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand in opposition. Seeing no raised hands, this motion is approved unanimously. Moving on to the remaining parts of the agenda, we have business by members. Do any of the members have any business they'd like to share? Seeing no raised hands. Secretary's report. Heather, Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair Cantrell. First, the recent Common Council actions. So at the last Common Council meeting, the Council did approve almost everything related to the Plan Commission recommendations. There were a variety of zoning text amendments and map amendments before the Council. There are 3 related items on the Oscar Mayer, the greater Oscar Mayer site that were referred by the Council to the May 10th meeting. And so they'll be taking up those 3 items together at that time. And they're all in the vicinity of the area that has been outlined in the adopted plan for future park. And so those 3 items will be before the Council again on May 10th. Looking forward to the Plan Commission's April 25th meeting. Several items worth mention here. We'll have an update on our progress with regard to the comprehensive plan. That's an annual update that we provide with lots of input from many different agencies as a feedback loop to the community. So that'll be briefly presented to the Plan Commission. Discussion related to the meeting format for the second half of 2022. And so if you could be thinking about what your preferences are with regard to maintaining a virtual meeting or moving toward in-person meetings, we can have that discussion on April 25th. 2 plan amendments before the Commission. First, amending the Yahara Hills Neighborhood Development Plan on the far southeast side. And then a plan on the near east side, the Shank Atwood Starkweather Worthington Park Neighborhood Plan, a really focused amendment having to do with the item listed right after that at 2165 Linden Avenue, a proposed rezoning to the Planned Development District for a 32-unit apartment building. And then finally, the last item I'll mention for the 25th is a revision, major revision to the 900 block of East Washington Avenue, where we had a multi-story office building that had been approved, still have multi-story office/commercial space, but a healthy proportion of that building being transitioned to residential use. And so the magnitude of the change was large enough such that it goes back through the review by the Urban Design Commission, Plan Commission, and Council. Moving forward to the May 9th meeting, I'll just mention one here, actually the first one, on the 500 block of West Washington Avenue, demolition of several multifamily buildings to construct one 6-story, 140-unit apartment building. And I think those are the major issues that'll be up for discussion at the next couple meetings. And I'll leave it there for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is announcements. Do we have any announcements? Seeing no raised hands. Adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Sondheim. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Shepard. All those in favor? I'll assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand. Seeing no raised hands. Good night, all. Thank you very much. Bye.